Warning, warning. Suspects are now under pursuit. They are on the fucking run.
Welcome back. I'm president.
He did it. It was him.
You know, you were also
Yeah,
distracted
while you guys
with
were
the existing election. Guess he snuck up behind you.
Guess who ran a shadow election and already won all of the electoral votes?
Yeah. With all the dark states.
The dark state. Have you ever heard of it? That 51st state of Lee.
You know, you've all been looking at America. Flip it over. See what's underneath.
That
It's
is
like
the,
link to
is
the
the
past.
nature.
It's like the shadow world.
That is the nature of my ability. Shadow election.
Well, anyway, this has nothing to do with the podcast. You haven't, like, if this is
Well, the
first...
sad thing about this is your first act as president is about to be destroying the West Coast, isn't it? Unless we do something.
Oh, that's already happened.
Oh no! It's not a good look for your next term.
No, all the people who wouldn't vote for me were there.
Reverse. Oh my god, have you seen Burn the Witch?
I've not, though.
So it's an anime movie that they broke up into like 3 episodes, and it's the idea is that there are dragons that like destroy, you know, parts of the world and hurt people, but they're in reverse London. That's where your election came from, was the reverse United States, where everything is the opposite.
Anyway, this also has nothing to do with the podcast. What is the podcast about, Darnell? If it was your first episode, you wouldn't know yet.
Why would your first episode be like episode 39?
Because you see the new one that's here big and got 2 million views, and you want to know what the fuss is.
Oh, of course. Right. This is about discovering SCPs, and today we have a very special themed episode for all the people that are very upset we skipped 610. Yeah.
We didn't skip it. We skipped the bad bits. Controversial.
Yeah. It's true, though. But to satisfy people, because I know there's like that whole meme war, we are doing a honest-to-goodness, full seriousness, Sarkic episode. Isn't that right?
Hell yeah. What do you know about the
they're
Sark?
only the finest. Okay, I know they have to do with flesh, and I know they're at war with the Church of the Broken God.
TikTok.
And I know that there's a group of people in our friend group that are absolutely obsessed with it and are still mad that we skipped through 610.
Oh, it doesn't... Nah, I don't care. Sorry.
Very upset.
Sorry to our
very
viewers.
upset.
I'm sorry to our listeners and our friends, but I don't care.
Yeah.
This is my damage control.
The PR. To be fair, it would be a farce to make PR because we don't care. But you know what? We're going to do an honest
Darnell
Sarkic
says he
episode.
doesn't care, but I get frequent messages from him that prove that he does care a lot.
I only care because every time I try to be like, hey, you should check out our podcast, they're like, don't they skip stuff? And it's just like, blah. So now we're going to do a whole Sarkic episode. So how many do you have for us?
We have 1, 2, 3 full articles.
4 articles.
3.
Wow, I hope they're good. Oh, 3. I thought you said 4.
No, full.
Oh, 3 full articles.
Yeah.
Try being less British the next time.
How about I kill you?
How
about I kill you and we see how fucking British your corpse is?
You're the president of the United States now. You have to leave behind all the Britishness.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset any of my viewers.
Any of my fellow Americans.
Let's get into the first SCP.
I love your American accent.
Thanks, Buster.
Alright, yeah, link it to me. Let's read this. We're like 4 minutes and we've yet to read an SCP.
SCP-2075. This one is called The Way of All Flesh by Metaphysician, the creator of
That's
the
a
Sarkic.
dope-ass name. Oh, look, there's like some kind of... There's a guy here for the photograph. It says oldest known
some
photograph.
kind of creature.
No, but he looks funny. Look at his hat. It looks like an upside-down top hat.
Mocking the Sarkic hat?
No, it's like a top hat, but the brim is on the top instead of the bottom. It looks stupid.
Wow. Alright, let's get into it.
It's a cool drawing, though. Whoever drew that's epic. Alright, yes.
It's not a drawing, I'm pretty sure that's a photograph.
Oh.
Epic drawing.
It does kind of look like a sketch drawing.
SCP-2075. Containment Class Euclid. Disruption Class Valium. Risk Class Warning. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-2... What the fuck was that noise I made? My Sarkic?
That was your presidential groan.
Before every speech, he hits low rumble.
Yeah, you just do a low rumble for 15 minutes and then you leave.
Tell me, Mr. President, why did you vote for those farmers? Disgusting. Special containment procedures. SCP-2075 is to be held in isolation within a containment unit, capable of being hermetically sealed when required.
What does hermetically sealed mean?
You don't know?
No. Is that like an established term, or is that just for this article type of deal?
It means in a way that is completely airtight.
Oh,
As in, hermetically
Squelchy.
sealed windows help to keep out cold air. I'm not looking at a dictionary.
As expected of someone who has the power of Google at their disposal, and the CIA.
The smugness was like, you don't know?
Yeah, you're like, huh? And then you like lean over to your like 12-foot tall CIA assistant, get me the information.
Containment unit is...
Sorry, continue. I'm gonna get stuck on this all day.
Containment unit is to undergo remote decontamination daily, more if deemed necessary. The SCP is to be supplied with bottled water and nutrient capsules via pneumatic tube 3 times a day. All interactions with the SCP are to be done by remote microphone. Observational windows are constructed of laminated ballistics glass. Any damage to the containment cell must be repaired immediately by personnel equipped with Level A hazmat gear.
Oh, is he radioactive?
SCP-2075-A are to be terminated via incineration and disposed of per hazardous waste protocols unless authorized for research by Site Director.
Oh, does he have radioactive poops?
Biopsies are to be stored within individual cryogenic storage units. SCP-2075 is contained at Sector G of Biological Containment Site 66, since its transfer from GRU Division P in blank blank 1991 in wake of the USSR's dissolution. What do we think?
Alright, so it has to do with Russia stuff. He has radioactive poops. No. Actually, legitimately, I'm not sure what he does yet. I assume maybe some part of his body lets off something that has radioactive elements off of it. And he has something to do maybe with the factory, considering they talked about USSR dissolution. I don't know.
Oh, the factory?
Yeah.
Why would that follow?
I don't know. I'm just trying to piece together all the themes from Russian and radioactive question mark.
Okay.
So,
Description. The SCP is currently a 63-year-old Caucasian male, formerly known as Alexei Kravchuk,
that's a dope-ass name.
a security guard employed by GRU Division P. SCP-2075 exhales a microbial pathogen capable of extreme neurological alterations. An individual infected by the SCP is classified as -A and is considered an extension of the SCP. The SCP is able to exert its anomalous effects regardless of distance after initial infection, and will maintain control indefinitely unless -A is destroyed.
Oh, so he's not radioactive, you just have to wear a hazmat suit so you don't get infected with mind control.
Experiments using D-Class have suggested that the SCP is able to simultaneously use -A as it would its own body. If the primary host is destroyed, the surviving -A will become the acting SCP, exhibiting its anomalous pathogen. The SCP is unable The SCP is unable to control more than one -A at a time.
So already one, this means this guy could have been along for who knows how long and just kept transferring bodies. This is like a doper version of a lich. You open your mouth and everyone who breathes it in, like, bends to your will, and then if you die, you get to take over one of those bodies.
Yay.
So powerful. Could you even defeat him?
Yeah.
How? He's like the white rabbit from ReZero.
Use Aether to kill him. Read Aether spells.
That would do it?
My special
with
Aether...
my Aether, it slows down the infection of the pathogen, allowing me to keep fighting.
This damn gene tyrant.
Continue.
SCP-2075 has shown an eager willingness to communicate with Foundation personnel.
That's a surprise.
It claims to have been born in the year 1204 CE.
Okay, so he has existed for a long time. So that's about a little over 800 years.
6712, footnote says, which further questioning revealed to be based upon the now obsolete Byzantine calendar. Although there exists no records in which to verify its claim, if true, then the SCP is estimated to have been 787 years of age at time of its transfer into Foundation custody in blank blank 1991.
Nice.
SCP-2075 proposed to speak in Russian, but has also revealed itself fluent in English, German, and an archaic Uralic language that does not coincide with any modern known variants of the Uralic language family. Subject is literate, but has made no request for any literature or writing implements.
And it looks here we've got a series of 3 interviews.
Yeah.
So who do you want to be? Dr. Albert Cronenberg or the SCP?
Can I be the SCP?
Yes.
Yes.
Interviewed. SCP-2075. Interviewer, Dr. Albert Cronenberg. Forward. Wait, is Cronenberg a reference? I feel like I've heard that name
Yeah, I'm pretty
before.
sure it is. It's like the body horror director.
Oh, okay. Forward. First interview with SCP-2075 after its successful transportation and containment at Biological Containment Site 66. Begin log. Welcome, SCP-2075. I hope that you are comfortable.
Very much so. I love to comment on discovering SCP videos and have them read out by Darnell.
Fuck off!
Oh, sorry.
I'll kill you! I'll kill you! Wait, I can't say that. You're the president.
Take him
I
out.
can't be so careless. No, please. Good. I would like to ask you some questions. Please answer truthfully.
Of course. I'm man of honesty, I am. I had to fight not to do a Yoda voice. Ask your questions, Doctor.
Noted. First, what is your name?
Does it matter? You will call me what you will. I am Karcist Varys.
Oh, this guy's got fucking anime villain energy. Karcist. Not your birth name, I suppose. I presume.
It is a title, Doctor, but as true a name I might surrender. The name that once belonged to this face is ill-suiting, no?
Very well. Do you know why you are here?
For same reason SARS keep me in dungeon. For same reason Stalin experiments. You are afraid, Doctor, much as they were.
Please explain your anomalous nature, if able.
One might as well explain the sun to the moon.
Try me.
When I was small, the church spoke of two worlds, one of flesh and one of spirit. This is incorrect. There is no perfection in duality. I learned of the oneness of all. Tell me, what does the color yellow feel like? I know you can state some science, but no words will translate the experience. My nature is much the same. I can show you. Come inside, Doctor.
I think we'll stop here. Thank you for your time. I gotta say, I ironically am digging the voice you're doing for the SCP.
Thank you.
Shall we jump straight into interview 1992, a year later?
Hell yeah.
Alright, so skipping interviewed and interviewer... no skipping. Interviewed, SCP-2075. Interviewer, Dr. Albert Cronenberg. Forward, 7th interview with SCP-2075. So there's been at least 5 more between this one and the last one. Conversation to focus on missing GRU Division P reports. Begin log. When were you first detained? GRU Division P were unable to provide much documentation about you. Said something about a fire in 55?
This was before GRU Division P, before Lenin, Stalin, or Revolution. It was the time of troubles, yes? Footnotes. The time of troubles, I'm not going to say the Russian word, because I can't pronounce it, was a period...
No, we can't skip anything, Tin, you have to say it!
Smutnoy Vremya was a period...
Smutnoy.
was almost certainly not how it's pronounced. Was a period of political crisis in Russia that followed the fall of the Rurik dynasty in 1598 and concluded with the establishment of the Romanov dynasty in 1613.
Poggers.
I was proselytizing in Novgorod, spreading...
Oh, hey, I've done that in CK2. You gotta put your little advisor down in Novgorod.
A massacre had occurred just 30 years prior, and I could feel the mounds of dead as I walked. Serfs, Slashta, and Boyar.
I don't know what those other two are. What is a Shlachta and Boyar?
It just says. But not one, dear doctor. I had one detractor.
Please, continue.
An archpriest of the Eastern Orthodoxy he was, declared me witch, heretic, and bogomil. Bogomilism was a Gnostic sect founded in the 10th century, of which I was.
I'm not a good Christian. I'm a Gnostic.
Of which I was none. The audacity of that man. He whipped him up into frenzy, torn to pieces I was. Watched the entire event from afar.
So you say. Explain to me your experience.
Do you die if you lose finger? A very humbling experience to observe a piece of yourself destroyed.
Is this Beetlejuice from ReZero? It kind of feels like it a little bit.
My name is Betelgeuse Romandi Conti.
It was so... It was so slothful of them to think I would be destroyed so easily. An interesting tale, but that was not my question. When were you first contained by GRU Division P?
So impatient you are. I have all the time in the world.
This guy's really cocky for someone in fucking 6'8" distance. I don't know. Alright, interviewed. Oh, sorry. Interview blank
now
blank
I am
1996.
interviewer.
Interviewed, SCP-2075. Interviewer, Dr. Albert Cronenberg. Forward, 43rd interview with SCP-2075. Conversation to focus on missing origin and extent of anomalous abilities.
Doctor, always a pleasure.
Yes, of course. I wanted to discuss your abilities.
Dear Doctor, we have been over this, have we not?
Have you always been able to control others?
It is a gift, one received long ago. Touched by Ion, grand carsist of Aditum, I was embraced into the faith.
So these religions, we already saw it a little bit with Broken God, but it's interesting because not all anomalous things are just things that exist for reasons we don't understand. Not that we don't understand how they did it, but this implies that humans to some extent can control anomalous abilities.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, or that some are just born with it. Yes, I've gathered you have built some superstitions around your ability.
I knew you were heathen from start. You surround yourself with abominable machines like those who wish to fix what was never broken.
Broken?
Followers of Mechane.
I take it you are aware of the Church of the Based God, then?
Very much so. They are anathema.
We will discuss them later, then. Tell me, who is Ion?
High Priest of Aditum, the Grand Carsist, our immortal, most beloved father. Perhaps, dear Doctor, you shall meet His Holiness one day.
Is he still alive, or is he like a religious figure
Immortal.
synonymous with like... Ooh,
It says right there.
Immortal? Isn't that just a copy of Dr. Bright?
I'm behind you, Dr. Cronenberg.
What is
It's like get him on a video and he's like, you're watching me, aren't you?
Yeah, you see like the fucking magical eyeball dissipate that was hiding in
he's
stealth
doing the
mode.
Dio pose.
Yeah, yada. It seems you've seen too much Cronenberg. What is Aditum?
Aditum, it is a very old city. The way to the promised land can only be accessed through the love and unity of Ion.
I see. I would like to ask about your anomaly again.
Gru called them meat puppets. They are not puppets, we are united as one.
How does the pathogen work? Are you transferring your consciousness or altering their own to suit your needs?
Dear Doctor, you are not very imaginative. Tell me, is finite life worth living? I heard about wife. My heart truly bleeds for you.
This interview is over. I have an answer to that question, but I will leave it be. I will say, what's interesting is I noticed from what we gathered from 610 in this, it seems that it's not just flesh. It seems like they kind of have a knack for like disease-oriented things. Maybe it's because pathogens and stuff, are alive. But like it's not just all like blood and skin in the organs. You know, they have like they do disease and pestilence.
Oh, we've got an updated file here.
Do you think that the horse rider of pestilence would be one of these guys?
Maybe.
Yes, we do have an updated version.
Item number SCP-2075. Containment class Keta. Disruption class Etchy. Risk class critical.
What happened?
Special containment procedures. As of blank 2014, SCP-2075 is currently uncontained and its location is unknown. Description. The SCP is a Gestalt consciousness currently occupying an unknown number of hosts. The SCP exhales a microbial pathogen capable of extreme neurological alterations. Those infected by the SCP are -A and are considered an extension of the SCP. SCP is able to exert its anomalous effects regardless of distance after initial infection and will maintain control indefinitely unless -A are destroyed.
We've got Site-66 surveillance, 24 hours. 3 men enter the containment site. They have been identified
I'll be everyone but Cronenberg. You can be Cronenberg.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
They have been identified as Dr. Albert Cronenberg and security personnel Jacob D. Moore and Jonathan Lee. You requested to speak with me. I am not at your beck and call, 2075.
Yet you come when beckoned.
My patience with you has long since waned. Speak, and be quick about it.
I have seen enough of this place. I will be leaving you now. Right, I may head out.
Are you threatening a containment breach?
I have long looked over your shoulder. Truth be told, the man you now observe in your cage could leave whenever he wished. I believe you miscalculated the sum of my parts. Tell me, if you caged the limb of an octopus, have you truly caged the octopus? This one has so many arms to spare.
What is this?
My containment. It never truly mattered. I have always been quite free. Turn to the right, Doctor. Smile for camera. A message is being sent.
Glances at the security camera.
Ion held 6 fingers aloft, and upon their spears did the soldiers impale themselves. For you, they cried before the blood drowned their palms. And Ion said, Now do you see? And Naddox wept as more did skewer themselves in Ion's name, for he had seen and now knew the truth of his words.
Security! Security! I appear to struggle with Security Officer Lee.
Do you see?
Oh, sorry. Security Officer Lee appears to hold Dr. Cronenberg, while Security Officer Moore stabs him in the abdomen with a dagger of a ceremonial design, weapon later designated an anomalous object. Video ends abruptly. Surveillance camera destroyed.
Security personnel were alerted when the SCP's containment unit ruptured. An amorphous mass of flesh and bone, considerable in size, destroyed or disabled defense parameters. Sector G was flooded with chlorine trifluoride, eliminating the biological agents. Heavy casualties were suffered, including 56 fatalities. Sector G was deemed a complete loss and is currently being reconstructed. DNA found spread throughout Sector G matched that of Dr. Albert Cronenberg, presumed deceased.
Hidoi. So cruel.
What did they turn him into?
See, I called this guy was an anime villain, not just the way he spoke, but the whole, I was never really trapped here. It was simply convenient for me.
Investigation concluded that Jacob D. Moore and Jonathan Lee were both aspects of the SCP. Each had over 10 years of exceptional service to the Foundation. It's unknown when they were first linked to the SCP, but is believed to have occurred prior to joining the Foundation. Partial remains of their DNA, as well as those of SCP-2075, were found within Sector G. Due to the trade capabilities of the SCP, it is now believed to have never been fully contained by GRU Division P or the Foundation. Discovered within Sector G was a ring-shaped object constructed of palladium weighing 2.26 kilograms and with a circumference of 22 centimeters. Object is non-anomalous and depicts an Ouroboros believed to be a symbol of religious significance.
It seems like a lot of things in this series tie together with each other.
GRU Division P personnel associated with original containment have been sought for information about the SCP. All were recorded as deceased or missing.
So this is interesting. It's one of the few cases we've seen so far, if not the first, where the SCP has successfully officially escaped. Very, very interesting. I would say if this was an earlier series and this wasn't formatted so well and the writing wasn't good, I would have probably assumed this was just someone's OPOC. But we've read some of this author, I believe it was Metaphysician's work before. I know better. I'll say this is pretty cool. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give this one an 8 to 8.5 out of 10.
Nice.
Although it does set the Sarkic power level very high compared to the Foundation. I've never been a fan of the Foundation, so I don't care if they're stronger than them.
Right. Good to hear. Good to hear you liked it.
Yeah. Alright, what's the second one you've got for me?
The second one is also by Metaphysician, who wrote a lot of these early Sarkic content.
Yeah, someone did tell me in the collaboration group chat when I was like, we're going to do Sarkicism. They're like, oh, so it's the Metaphysician episode.
Yeah, basically. Right, and this one is SCP-2406 by Metaphysician called The Colossus.
I almost forgot. Hang on. Alright, I upvoted the last one. Okay. The Colossus. Will we be in his shadow, question mark?
Hell yeah. Item number, SCP-2406.
Watch your words with this next line, buddy.
Object class. Sofa.
I'll allow
containment
it.
procedures. Provisional Site 31 has been built around the SCP and is to maintain the facade of a Kazakhstani military facility.
Oh, I have a friend who's from Kazakhstan.
Nice. Does he know about this?
No.
Type A hazmat suits are mandatory when working directly with the SCP, as is decontamination upon exit. The security perimeter of armed guards to remain in place at all times in order to prevent unauthorized access. Direct interaction with the SCP requires authorization by Site Command. Any clues?
So I imagine it's security perimeters to remain in place to prevent unauthorized. So I imagine they said it's designed as a military facility. So I imagine it's going to be something like it's a giant thing because it's called the Colossus, and the top half is probably inside the building, and the bottom half's below the ground. So they built the building around it. That's my guess. Something not dissimilar to the one we read about the weird arm.
Well, let's see. Description: SCP-2406 is a mechanical automaton, 93 meters in height and weighing approximately 210 tons. Research indicates that the SCP was not sentient and required at least 6 operators to properly function. It is hypothesized that the SCP was piloted via 160 different valves and levers within its interior. Limbs were controlled through the application of pneumatics, hydraulics, and clockwork, and powered by a nuclear reactor located within the torso. Go, go, Power Rangers!
Wait, this is a mechanical thingy, though.
SCP-2406 was discovered on August 7, 1985 in the Arolkum Desert, formerly the eastern basin of the Aral Sea. Footnotes. Formerly one of the largest lakes in the world, with an area of 68,000 kilometers square.
Kilometers square.
It's been steadily shrinking since the 1960s after the rivers that fed into it were diverted by Soviet irrigation projects. And that was found during an effort to track the unusually high levels of radiation in the water. Initially contained by GRU Division P, these unlucky bastards
who
find all
GRU
this shit.
Division P?
We did an
Are they
episode
part of the
them.
Foundation?
They were like the Soviet group. When the Soviet Union was a thing, they took care of the...
Oh, yeah. They were like their version of the FBI thing we have.
Yeah. The SCP will be transferred into Foundation custody following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Despite the location of its recovery, the SCP is believed to be built somewhere in the Aegean Sea. Most of the SCP is composed of an alloy consisting of 75 to 80% copper, 15 to 20% zinc, and smaller percentages of nickel, lead, and iron, the admixture responsible for its bronze appearance. Inscribed upon the posterior of the exterior torso is the Aegean numeral for 9, suggesting that the SCP may not be an entirely unique construction.
That reminds me of that. Do you remember that movie that was like the thread puppets, and it was the main guy was number 9?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It kind of reminds me of that, but it's giant metal automatons instead of little sock puppets.
However, as of to date, it remains the only one of its kind known to the Foundation. The anterior of the exterior torso is engraved with a stylized hammer and anvil.
Of course.
The right arm was equipped with a nozzle attached to a 20,800-litre tank. Although the tank was discovered empty, chemical testing revealed pine resin, naphtha, quicklime, calcium phosphide, and sulfur within its interior.
I imagine that's like to set fire, right?
Speculated to be the ingredients for Greek fire.
Yeah!
An incendiary weapon originally thought to have been first used CA-672. The left arm appears to have been torn from the SCP and was not initially recovered with the SCP. See addendum for details. Human skeletal remains, 6 in number, have been removed from the interior of the SCP with radiocarbon dating placing their deaths at 1200 to 1000 BCE.
I don't know what the cal means.
All were found to be attired in armour that, while roughly Mycenaean in design, is composed of material never used in ancient warfare. A lead and copper alloy with an inner lining composed of asbestos fabric.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Rip whoever had to ride in that thing.
The helmet would have completely covered the head with a green-tinted glass visor over the face. Tubes constructed from ghost intestines fed outside air directly into the mouths of the pilots. Valve 136 would have caused a momentary release of water into these tubes, allowing those within to remain hydrated while operating the SCP. A similar system of tubes attached at the crotch and were presumably used in the expulsion of urine. I didn't need to know, but thank you.
Yuck.
What? You embarrassed?
Oh, that's gross.
You embarrassed?
I don't want to imagine it. Just keep reading. It's gross.
Because the ancient people pissed and farted?
Stop! Just keep going.
You gonna cry?
No.
The SCP is
Not
currently
yet.
disabled, but could hypothetically be repaired, and displays extensive evidence of combat-related damage. The head, torso, and left leg were discovered impaled by organic spines. These spines appear superficially chitinous, and despite showing strong structural similarities to coral, contain human DNA. It is believed these objects function as projectiles employed by an unidentified anomalous organism. Indentations around the torso were suggestive of constriction by a large, flexible, and prehensile appendage. Originally thought to be caused by natural corrosion, the SCP's outer layer was damaged by a strong acidic substance likely associated with the previously noted unidentified anomalous organism.
Mm-hmm.
Physical evidence suggests that the reactor core melted through the posterior torso, penetrating the Earth and continues to burn at more than 1200 degrees Celsius. It is estimated to be presently located about approximately 820 meters beneath the surface. The reactor, when intact, had been hypothesized to have functioned in a manner similar to natural nuclear fission reactors. A natural nuclear fission reactor is a uranium deposit where self-sustaining nuclear chain reactions have occurred, deviating significantly from modern designs. It is possible that the creators of the SCP were aware of such phenomena and attempted to mimic the process.
I'm confused because this seems like a Church of the Broken God thing. Is this gonna just be like where the meat is in the addendum or the drop downs, and it's gonna be about like how they defeated the mechane thing? Because this doesn't really seem like a Sarkic thing.
We have to recall that there has been damage to it by some strange organic spikes.
Yeah.
And shit.
So more of the story of it is gonna lie in how they took this thing down to show off their immense power. Yeah.
Several scrolls were recovered from a watertight cylinder within the SCP. Most appear to be of religious nature and associated with the followers of Mechane, the historical precursors to the modern Church of the Broken God. The scrolls are written in a unique script derived from Mycenaean Greek. It required 10 years of research for Foundation linguists to decipher the system of writing. An incidental outcome, but this may lead to a translation of Linear A, says Dr. Judith Lau. These documents included a variation of the Book of Pieces, Chapter 12, which we'll maybe check out one day.
Okay. Will we be called skippers for skipping that link?
No, that's his cross-link.
Okay.
Well, how about I hand these addendums to you, because my throat is tired.
Scroll 1. The Colossi were constructed in her schema. The Colossi were constructed to defend, secure, contain. The enemy, Grand Karcist Ion, betrayer of man, destroyer of progress, sorcerer king of Adatum.
That's
a desolate
nice
domain. A failed and fallen creation, built with the body's flesh of dead gods. Upon a throne of black ambition, the enemy plots. The enemy is not a priest, they are a merchant, and they have sold the world, whole totality? The Colossi were constructed in her schema. The Colossi were constructed to defend, secure, contain. The profane tools must be broken, uncreated. Drink deep the silver blood of Mechane.
I love it when
May
it's
her
all caps.
sacrifice not be in vain? Yeah, it's like when you write, I should stop comparing this to real things. Scroll 2. This is the final testament of Matriarch Eupraxia, Legatus Faithful, Servant of Mechane. Dude, I want to live in a time where I could have a ridiculously silly-sounding title. I would love that. I would like to be like, third of his bloodline, Revelation of John.
Oh, I want to be the sorcerer king who sits on a black throne of ambition.
So you've come. You're like holding a skull like fucking Hamlet.
There's a blood moon behind me, and you can just see my red glowing eyes.
But all warriors are dead. I'm not a warrior, but all warriors are dead, breaking themselves upon the enemy's host. The enemy has set their plan into motion. The Sorcerer King surrounds himself with corpses. To fight is to grow/increase in number his legions. Egypt retreats from the world/us/contact with us. The Hittites have fallen into chaos/strife. Excuse me. The conspirators of Crete, footnote, I am almost positive this word references Crete, possibly the Minoans in a broader sense, Dr. Judith Lowe, have sacrificed their own. The Aegeans, I believe this is meant to reference all Greek states at the time, Dr. Judith Lowe, has fallen into barbarism. The city of 1,000 pillars. Do they mean Iram? That can't be possible, though. There's no... Whoops, I accidentally moved my mouse off. There's no evidence for the existence of Iram or of the pillars, nor is it referenced until at least the 7th century CE. Judith Lowe. The city of 1,000 pillars is forever lost. Has always been lost. Even the Deva grow desperate with the enemy at their border. The center collapses. Kingdoms crumble. The damage is done. The light of reason flickers/wanes, but Mechane sacrificed herself so that we might be free. We refuse to return to that darkness. We would rather die. But the siege at Gyaros was won. We must strike while the metal is hot! And thus we march for Kythera, at the end of all things. We have crossed the wine-dark sea. We have seen villages ravaged by the Red Death. We have seen the dead, the dying, and the deathless. We cast the accursed to holy flame. We enter his desolate domain, and in our left hand we carry our answer. We cannot undo what has been done, but we can delay the Sarkic dawn. All right, addendum.
Nice.
Back to you.
On December 12, 1998, the left arm of the SCP was uncovered 32 kilometers from its body. Evidence of impact suggests the object had been hurled to its location shortly after being severed from the SCP's torso. The arm is equipped with what has since been hypothesized to be a weapon of non-terrestrial origins and anomalous manufacture, design, and capabilities. Due to its singular nature, when compared to the rest of the SCP, this weapon has been separately classified as SCP-1. The actual purpose of -1 is unknown, the apparatus so foreign as to render it beyond current Foundation knowledge. -1, possibly due to damage, warps space-time in its vicinity. Camp counters have registered the object at a difference of 30 humes in relation to its surrounding environment.
Is that a surrealist thing?
That is a in-setting measure. That's like reality fuckery.
Yeah, because I was going to say Kant and Hume were like philosophy people, not like scientific measurements.
Despite this, there has been no observable effect on reality. It has been hypothesized that use of -1 would cause considerable damage to local reality. It remains unknown if it was ever used prior to destruction of the SCP, or personnel are not to attempt activation of -1 unless authorized by Site Command.
So I want to give this props because it was kind of a neat way to do an SCP. The SCP was actually a Broken God thing, but basically the function of it was to show how strong the Sarkic peoples were. And I feel like he did justice to the design.
A lot of the historical Sarkic ones, what I like about them is the world building they do with the rest of, like, a lot of, like, even when it mentions, like, the Deva in that little scroll.
Yes. I really like that too, and I wonder if that didn't always exist before the book had enough blood spilled on it or whatever. Very, very interesting. Very cool. I like this a lot. I'm going to give this one probably a 9 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, unsure. Pretty high. We're on a roll so far, though. I'm liking these.
Nice.
I'm going to give this one an upvote. All right, and then you have one more for us today?
Yes, I have SCP-2478. This one was actually by Mr. Wrong, so this isn't a metaphysician one. This one is by Mr. Wrong, and it's called Ordinary Japanese People.
Nice. This isn't going to get us in trouble, right?
Yes. No.
Okay.
So, shall we get into it?
I guess. I will say though, Tan, we're only at 37-ish minutes. Well, this one doesn't look that long. Do we have enough articles for today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Item number, SCP-2478. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. All live instances of the SCP are held in individual Type L humanoid containment cells at Biological Containment Area 519. 3 deceased instances of the SCP are to be held in the Area 519 morgue. No personnel of self-acknowledged Japanese descent are to be in visible proximity with SCP instances unless for approved testing. Approval may be sought from Project Heads 2478. The SCP's freedom of religious practice is acknowledged under the Eugenio II Protocol. See document 2478-BOO for necessary provisions with regards. The SCP with regards to SCP-2478's religious ceremonies. Personnel to monitor religious ceremonies conducted by SCP instances. What do you think?
I don't know what to think. It says there are 3 instances, so I assume it's one of the... And they mentioned biological containment, so I assume it's going to be something similar where it's an infection, and when a Japanese person catches it, they become a 2478.
Well, let's see. SCP-2478 refers to an alternative phenotype of Homo sapiens sapiens, human.
Did you say homeo? It's homo.
I said homo.
Homo sapiens sapiens. You said homeo,
No,
like
I didn't.
Romeo.
I didn't.
All right, sure.
We'll see, won't we? Distinctive
You're going to edit it out?
Distinctive physiological features include 14 legs arranged around the lower torso, and 14 arms and 7 heads scattered around the torso arbitrarily. Locomotion is possible for a combination of multi-legged movement in metachronal rhythm, muscular contraction of its lower torso, and mucus secreted from underneath its body. Average height and mass are 2.8 meters and 400 kilograms respectively, while torso circumference is 1.5 meters. SCP-2478 instances uniformly demonstrate fluency in the Haida dialect in Japanese and can comprehend standard Japanese. A single SCP instance possesses 7 sets of most internal organs, for example hearts, lungs, stomach. However, only 1 brain exists for a given SCP instance. It is located along its torso and has an average mass of 10.5 kilograms. As such, a given SCP instance possesses a single consciousness and all 7 mouths will speak in unison. Although male or female reproductive organs or a combination of both have been found in the SCP, they are non-functional. The number of reproductive organs in a given SCP instance is consistently 7.
So it seems like they have things in multiples of 7. Except for the brain.
So the SCP and images depicting it impose an anti-mimetic effect on humans of Japanese descent, hereon referred to as subjects. Subjects will ignore any signs of the SCP's anomalous physiology and perceive them as non-anomalous humans identified with gigantism. Subjects will consistently dismiss any evidence suggesting the SCP's anomalous nature. Non-Japanese individuals who have been made to believe they are of Japanese descent, for example falsified memories, are susceptible to this effect. Below is a translated expert by the Imperial Japanese Abnormal Matters Examination Agency, AJIMA.
So what I'm curious about is what's the cutoff line for, like, if you're even, like, 0.5% Japanese, does it activate, or do you have to have, like, a minimal, like, 25%?
I don't know.
Very interesting. And do we need to click on the iJamiya?
No, this is just sort of... So there's a little expert here.
Okay, yep.
So, and this is their expert. For some platoons fighting in China, bayonets and katanas levitated on their will and surrounded the soldiers from Blank in the Hida Mountains. Footnote: this statement refers to the SP instances who are known to hold weapons on all 14 hands during battle. So, because they can't see the hands, they just see the weapons flying around.
Oh, that's awesome.
They fought on our side and killed many Chinese. The ancestors of these men, we speculate, must be on our side. After all, the folk of Blank claimed lineage from the chaos of the warring states.
So how is this related to Sarkicism?
Subjects of partial Japanese descent, example half Japanese, experience this partial antibiotic effect to a lesser degree.
So this answers my question somewhat.
Subjects unaware of their Japanese descent, example ignorance on the subject's part, amnesia, dementia, are unaffected by this anomalous effect and fully recognise the SCP's physical appearance as non-human. The earliest known sightings of the SCP were from eyewitness accounts in Dairen, which is currently Dairen, Linan province in China, since 1926, where they were deployed by the Kwantung Army. Documents from the Imperial Japanese Army describe the SCP instances as soldiers conscripted from Blank Gifu Prefecture under Japan's conscription law and denied any anomalous trait attributed to the SCP. Instead, the Imperial Japanese Army officials claimed they were non-anomalous humans with gigantism. Supplementary documents and personnel from Japan-based organizations such as the Bureau of Onmyo, sometimes mistranslated in European language as the Holy Emperor's Council on Unearthly Matters, due to mistranslation of the word Tenno, Heavenly Sovereign, as Holy Emperor. Despite that, some documents still utilize the term Holy Emperor's Council on Unearthly Matters. Okay. And AJIMA did not regard the SCP to anomalous. That being said, the Bureau of Onmyo did record an extra-normal event related to Blank Village. A translated expert said event is as follows. On Blank August Meiji 12, equivalent to 1879 CE, the ETA, also referred as the Burakumin, an outcast group at the bottom of the Japanese social order that has historically been the victim of severe discrimination and ostracism, of Blank in the Hida Mountains mysteriously vanished. Cause unknown, but there's little need to be concerned over the loss of gravediggers and butchers.
Oh, okay, prediction time. So I've heard of this group before a wee bit. My guess is they cut some sort of deal with the Sarkics, like we're tired of being on the bottom, give us power, and then they became these things.
Some days before, a foreign preacher was said to have entered Blank, whereabouts also unknown. Without the ETA, Blank is no longer an ETA village. That day onwards, Blank was inhabited by another group of countrymen. They were unlike the ETA who previously dwelled in those lands. They were giants, standing taller than the men of America. Wow. Well, I guess not you. What would you do if you met a Sarkic? Would you ask for it?
That's what I'd sell my soul for, a couple of inches of height.
You just have more feet underneath your existing feet.
You're cruel and mean.
But appearances are deceiving. These new residents embody the Yamato spirit as any fellow countryman would, and are clearly worthy of being fellow subjects to His Imperial Majesty. They demonstrate great efficiency in the production of rice and rearing of livestock, truly exemplary of the nation. Wow.
They did it.
Initial attempts to acquire SCP instances were met with resistance from the Japanese government, condemning the Foundation's violation of the rights of the Empire's subjects. This was believed to be one of the contributing factors leading to the expulsion of all Foundation assets in the Japanese Empire on blank 1932.
Huh.
During the Second Sino-Japanese War, the Chinese military and Foundation intelligence had reported SCP instances among IJA forces. IJA sources indicate the entire SCP population in Japan have volunteered for conscription, operating in the China-Burma-India theatre. Notably, SCP-2478 instances were not conscripted under the Yokai Battalion in IJA sources, which was a Imperial Japanese Army battalion which comprised entirely of anomalous entities.
Man, these articles today have a lot of footnotes.
A lot of world building. I do like it though. I have to.
Yeah.
I have.
Well, I like ones like these ones because these ones are like, you know, actually about anomalous things or like things related to the universe. I don't like the ones where it's just giving me a fact about the real world. These are cool, though.
After Japan's surrendering in 1945, the Japanese government permitted the relocation of the surviving SCP population in Japan to Area 519. Sold them out! A majority of text regarding the history of the SCP was confiscated, although some remain unaccounted for. Ooh. Maybe we'll read that someday. Since containment, 7 live specimens of the SCP have been held by the Foundation, all of which served in the Ajime as enlistees. The remaining specimens, about 50, were executed under charges of war crime and autopsied, after which they've been cremated following 1 year of post-mortem study.
Alright, we've got some interviews with these things. So we've got interviewer, researcher James Chang, and interviewee SCP-2478-01 Bakatachi Weon.
Should I be at the SCP again? Keep the trend going?
Sure. The following interview is originally conducted in Japanese.
Let's not do any... Just talk like a normal person.
How dare you? How would I address you?
Bakatachi Weon from blank. What? Why do you... I want to say this is what the guy is saying. This is not me. Why do you keep us here, Chinese?
Bakatachi, we know what you are. 7 heads, 14 arms and legs. Hardly the average person. Yet the Japanese think of you as one...
We are an ordinary person. Only wish to be accepted as countrymen, but we were defiled, non-human. The Imperialists deny us that, as did the Shogun. For one of us is worth 1/7 of an ordinary person. We were cursed.
Aww. How did you end up like this?
We received a miracle from our Bodhsavita, Wyon. Said figure has no known parallel in Shinto, Japanese Buddhist, Rukyan or Anu pantheons. Who could this Wyon be?
I assume it's one of those Sarkic Cults.
Well, it sounds a lot like another name.
Oh, Ion. Took me a second.
He came to our village and took pity on our plight. Praised the craft that our countrymen mocked, the parting of skin from flesh and feeding of the dead to the earth. Wyon tore our flesh in groups of 7 and remade us to become an acceptable Japanese person.
And how do you feel about it?
If we can be part of the in-group, nothing else matters.
They were bullied into becoming bizarre anomalies.
We will be the in-group for both this world and the next, so says Wyon.
Excuse me, what do you mean by this world and the next?
Wyon spoke of the true pure land that is to come. I always wonder this, how do they know which parts to capitalize in these?
That's a good question.
And that we could have
that's the extent of like meta knowledge as a reader, right?
Yeah.
Like we would meta in the conversation if we were there know that, but how would the fucking person who's transcripting this know that?
And that we could have a place for it in our shared practice. Until then we have to get by the trials of this world. Surely he is Miroku. Japanese name for Maitreya, a Bodhsavita who will appear on Earth in the future, achieve complete enlightenment and teach the pure Dharma.
Do you know where is Wyon now?
Wyon returns to his throne, the root womb of the deceased god. Wyon will return within our 7-fold lifetimes, burrowing his intolerable force upon all.
Damn.
Hell yeah. Hell
I
yeah.
can't believe Wyon is just Ion with ooh-woo talk. Causist Wyon.
Addendum-2. The Wyon Matsuri is a traditional festival celebrated by SCP instances during late August, observed solely by them. A distinctive ritual of Wyon Matsuri is the skinning of animal carcasses. The skin will be made into leather and placed as decorations before a statue representing Wyon. At the conclusion of Wyon Matsuri, the skin, flesh and bone used would be buried into a single grave. Due to the anomalous nature of Wyon Matsuri, the O5 cancels approved the visitation of SCP instances practiced at the festival to maintain long-term compliance of their containment. Due to its non-anomalous nature and superficial resemblance to Sarkic rites, observation of the SCP's religious ceremonies will be permitted to gather additional information on Sarkic ideology. However, if there is concrete evidence that these religious ceremonies possess anomalous side effects, abort said ceremonies and deny future incidents.
And just to be clear, that last little paragraph required level 4 clearance.
Yeah, so I guess the explicit Sarkic connection is a bit hush-hush.
Yeah. I'll give that an upvote. That was a cool article.
Yeah, I like that one. I like how the base of it is like, I was wondering, I was like, hey, you see some guys like, sadly, dude, this sucks.
I'm going to give this one another 9 out of 10, because this, combined with the last one, makes it seem like Ion's just a guy who bestows powers upon people who please him enough. It kind of reminds me, it's weird to do this because the last one, because I'm making another anime reference, but it has nothing to do with this one being related to Japanese people. It kind of seems like Ion's like the guy from Demon Slayer who runs around and gives you power, makes you a demon. He's like, I've pitied you enough, and thus now you can have my Sarkic
I'll give you an ample
powers.
share of my blood.
Yeah, he did it to the Russian guy, too, in the first one. The second one was just kind of like the results
He's
of
a bit
the
more
battle.
chill, though.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. He just kind of runs around and gives you powers. Is he still around in the timeline? What's his deal?
This was fairly recent, so I don't know. There is disagreement.
There's no SCP of Ion yet, right? Where he got captured.
There's disagreement on this SCP whether this was actually Ion or someone who's using his name who turned up because of how chill he is in this one.
Yeah. Very interesting indeed.
I really like the Sarkic stuff because of the fucking world building and lore.
Yeah, I'll give them that. It's pretty good. I like these ones a lot more than the first ones we read.
Mm-hmm.
I think these ones have good world building. They're really fun to read. They have creative premises. I will say probably of any of the groups, they probably got the best world building, save maybe the Deva stuff, but that's hard to tell because we've really only read the one Deva thing. Or no, not Deva, sorry. I was thinking of the Fifthists. They have a lot of world building too, but yeah, I'm very much impressed. I still think I like the Church of the Broken God better for aesthetic, but I credit where credit is due. This was pretty cool.
Nice. Well, we've hit the 50 minutes mark, so it's time to go to the plug zone.
Yeah, where are we in the lore of the podcast now after you destroyed the West Coast? What are we doing?
We're tunneling through the ruins, searching for that man.
That... is that man the next guest star?
Yeah, whoever that ends up being.
Oh my gosh. Alright, so let me pull up the YouTube and we'll go through these
Hold on,
comments.
we gotta go to the plug zone. We're falling into the plug zone right now. We
can't we're here!
Do you know what would happen if you tried to cancel out of the plug zone?
Sorry. Alright, we're in the plug
They could destroy the entire East Coast.
What do you need to plug, you bastard?
Read A for space. Okay, we're leaving the plug zone.
Wait, no, don't leave. I have something to plug too.
Oh.
So, this is only if all things go according to plan, but if everything works out, then by the early parts of next week, the first episode of my other podcast will be out. I'll probably promote it. I'll probably make a post on Twitter and promote it a little bit in the server, but keep your eyes out for Good Morning Poon Poon coming to podcast services near you.
Oh yeah, I can dig it.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
I hope you listen, Tan. I would love to hear your opinions.
No, I've never read Goodnight Poon Poon, so I don't know what my opinion is worth.
The premise of the podcast is we're going to talk about the manga, but we're also going to talk about the lessons that can be extracted from it and kind of get into a little bit of philosophy about how to apply some of the thinking to your real life.
Hell yeah.
So it's like a weird both a review / analyzation of Oyasumi Poon Poon, but we're also going to talk about philosophy stuff. We'll see where it goes.
Hell yeah.
Alright, but yes, to the comments section. Let me open up the last video. So our last video was an absolute banger, but the audio was a little off. So apologies for that. Hopefully it'll be fixed this week.
Sorry.
We've taken a number of measures, so if things aren't fixed this week, then truly all is lost.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anyone.
So, first, from Quaker Buttonnose 128. I once read a sequel to Jeff the Killer, where he gets an infection in the cuts and burns on his face and dies. I guess in the original story, whatever superpowers let him punch someone so hard their heart stops must also give him a super efficient immune system or something. Also, I've started working on the pitch for my first SCP. Hopefully I'll get greenlit and get a draft written up in time for the next stream, smile.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, Tan, when do you want to stream again?
I don't know.
Do you have a day in mind, or do you want to set another subscriber goal, or?
When I feel this Saturday.
This Saturday? I don't know if I can do this Saturday.
I will stream something this Saturday.
Oh, you'll have to do it without me then, because I have to record for Good Morning Poon Poon this Saturday.
Yeah, no worries. It'll be a 24-hour stream, no it won't.
This is sad, you still haven't taught me how to stream on YouTube. How dare
We'll do it on Sunday instead, then.
Alright, I can do that. I just have to get all my work done before Sunday. Well, Chrysanthus, the really creepy part of those creepypastas was how bad they were! And how the fuck Jeff the Killer got so famous. Yeah, same. Thank God you were cracking jokes. The blood whistle was specially stupid. True.
Hey, that guy's got 750 million followers. You can't say that.
Blood Whistle's the one thing nobody can complain about is skipping, because that was so fucking long.
Yeah, you were all real fucking quiet there, weren't you?
Dino Tail says, "Hello, Tanhony and Darnell. I like the comment format I did last time, so I'm commenting like this from now on. Oh, it's like the birth of Hunter Spataphora Part 2.
How bold of you.
My SCP recommendations are SCP-2718, What Happens After, SCP-2883, A Rainbow Holographic Crystal Dinosaur, and SCP-2022, Sunlight to Pills. 2. My theme recommendation is the Chaos Insurgency. 3. When I heard that you were reading Jeff the Killer, I wanted to stab needles up my privet parts. You guys made my experience less painful.
Hell yeah, I can feel that.
Ugh. 4. I suddenly want a series where Ben Shapiro encounters creepypasta characters as SCPs. Let's say, hypothetically, this statue breaks necks. 5. Thanks for the kind words, Darnell. You're my favorite anime character. Hey, you're my favorite anime character.
Wholesome 100.
Thank you for your comment. Keanu Chungus. Okay, Hunter Spataphora.
Raid boss, raid boss.
Woo! Alright, everyone's got their buffs on. Everyone's consuming items. Okay, no, I'm kidding, Hunter. Please, I hope they don't take offense.
I feel bad because Hunter's comment is now a mainstay of the series. If he ever stops commenting for any reason,
if
we are down 25% of our content.
If we ever lose Hunter and Boris, truly all is lost. Even if we have, like, in the future, if we have, like, 2 million subs and I see that, like, Boris and Hunter unsub, I'll be like, so, it's over then, huh? Alright, so he's got some comments on Jeff the Killer. For a young boy's story, it's too long. Aren't newspapers limited in how many words they can use in their articles? Wouldn't newspapers normally paraphrase such stories instead of having the whole story word for word? To be fair, I think the newspaper was just that beginning clip we read, not the whole story afterward about guy killing people. 2744, 12-year-olds with knives and guns? Parents running out of the house and not doing anything because they're being held at gunpoint by 12-year-olds? Weren't there any parents supervising the kids in the first place? I think a problem in Jeff's new town is that all the adults might be incompetent, including the police, for sending Lou to the JDC without doing a thorough investigation. And Jeff's parents for forcing Jeff to go to the party against his will despite what happened with his brother, causing potential psychological trauma that would need time and therapy to quell. Yep.
Yeah, but this party could be the thing they need to brighten up their days.
What's the point of this whole story if it's just going to end with a 0 to 100 sane to psycho ending? It's like building up a character only for them to completely change at the climax. Then again, the climax of the story is the change, but it's not built up. It just happens with the build-up being the when. I feel like it makes who Jeff was trivial, which makes the origin story feel unimportant. That's pretty insightful, actually.
Yeah.
I agree. Next, we have comments about Eyeless Jack. That's it? That's all the doctor did? I know, right? No sewing up the gash? No investigation to try and figure out what happened? You somehow lost your left kidney last night. We don't know how, though. Sorry. Was all the doctor said? Sleepwalking was his conclusion? He should not be a doctor. Even Mitch is guilty of not even trying to investigate how he lost a kidney. Any form of organ loss is a pretty big deal. He should stay at the hospital for weeks until he's confirmed healthy. Yeah, all of it's true.
I love the doctor in that story. Every time something happens, the sorry comes out.
Sorry. That doctor's literally Tanhony.
That would be me as a doctor.
The time and space needed to take a picture... Okay, my throat is starting to get kind of dry. Can you read the
needed to take a picture comment? Of the creature is more than the time and space needed to defend yourself. Just casually reach over and get a camera to take a picture. A camera that might be further from you than the creature, even if the camera was on a nearby mantel. 4908. If Edwin's corpse just happens to reappear in the house, then where was it originally? Either the police found it and the creature recovered it to bring back to the house, or the creature had the body all along. You have missed one option here, that the police just didn't take it away, because this is a bizarro world.
They were too busy sending Lou to JDC.
If it was the first, then the police should have noticed when the body went missing. If it was the second, then how did the doctor know that Edwin was dead when he should be missing and said, oh, the doctor is Eyeless Jack?
Oh my god, that's actually a fire theory. That would explain why he gives literally 0 shits.
5034, Blood Whistles, Super Mario Bros. 3. 5313. What if this plot hole we're writing that's supposed to be written after the fact is instead written like a narrative that's in the present? It's like writing a letter where the last few sentences are, as I handed my letter over to my friend, he said, I'll see you again. I never saw him again. I don't know if my letter reached its recipient. 10223. If you made it to this part of the video and you're still listening, write down below what your favourite creepypasta was from this episode when you finish it. So far, I like Eyeless Jack because it's the lesser of 3 evils. They're all pretty bad, but the bad parts in Eyeless Jack were comedic points, while Jeff the Killer and Blood Whistle were just overall ridiculous to the point of being silly. Eyeless Jack also did not overstay its welcome, I would say.
He also put the code that I wrote, which proves that Hunter Spatafor is a true SCP fan. And
yeah,
I respect it.
No one else did, so...
No one ever puts the codes we say except Hunter. That's how you know he's a real
We got one real fan. All the rest of you, fake.
All the rest of them probably watched us do anime Jeff the Killer for 10 minutes and left the video.
Fake. Otherwise fake. If you want to prove that you're not fake, please say in the comments, "I'm the real fan."
All right. Yes, that's the code this time.
If you don't say it, that is confirmation that you are fake.
Mm-hmm. Comment reading. What does the licensing thing look like? I'm not sure if I see it in this video. Yeah, it's not relevant in that video because that's the creepypasta.
No SCP content.
Yeah, but this video onward, Tan is going to put a thingy in the description because White Guard was yelling at us about that. It's just for our protection to keep us safe. So blah, 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 Creative Commons, yada, yada, yada. This last one, if my boss comment is that much of a slog, then I should whittle it down even further. I'll start by reducing my comment limit from 15 to 10. Please don't nerf. Yeah, don't nerf yourself. We joke about you, but you're not a slog. These are fun to read. It's really cool to have like a super into it fan. I love it. But it is like, even if they're long to read, I'd rather you stay true to yourself than
keep your ideals.
Yeah. Excuse me. Killer1Gamer1 left 2 comments. The first was, "Excuse me, I'm what? I just said because that's the conversation starter on the server." I know, that's what I said!
Killer1 That's why it says that.
His next comment was, "The Mario one really isn't scary, it's just a gore fest." I mean, none of them are really scary.
Okay, but listen, imagine if you were playing your favourite childhood game.
My sanity!
And your sanity was brought to a grinding halt by the obsidian madness called Blood Whistle.
I'm gonna say it, and I don't care what controversy it starts. If playing a game that's just like a spooky gore fest is enough to make you want to kill yourself like the guy on Blood Whistle, then you have a weak spirit.
Oh.
That is what I'll say.
You can't say that.
I said it.
You just said it.
What are those people going to do? If they get mad at me, I'll just put on Blood Whistle.
Please don't.
And then, no problem. Honestic says, "Never apologize for Sam Kara. Don't worry, I won't."
Darnell,
next comment. Yeah, this one's from me, Tan.
I had of all.
Hey.
Tanhony, how did he know that the creature wanted his lungs? Me, only realizing the perfect retort after watching the video back.
By using facts and logic.
Why is that your impression of my voice? Is that what I sound like?
Yeah.
Wait, for real?
No.
I can't tell anymore. My mind, my sanity.
Blood Tanhony.
An anomalous writer says, "This was the best anime podcast reading I have ever heard. Also, happy Halloween." Happy Halloween, buddy.
Happy Halloween.
Lang Lim says, "I haven't read many creepypastas, but I can feel the classic, not rewritten Series 1 vibes from the ones you read." It's true.
It's true.
The SCP community has the benefit... I'll tell you this, the SCP community has the benefit of rewrites, of people who constantly go over each other's works, and of people that keep it relatively cleaned up. But I am positive if you went back to the early days of SCP, if they hadn't been edited out, there would be a ton of cringe ones as well. It very much has that early internet feel. Like how every SCP used to be a statue before the edit this cleanup or whatever they called it. Fancy Pants said, "Jeff Kuhn, ara.
Oh.
Fancy Pants, I hope you're on the server.
Oh, you went insane? You went so insane that you killed Liu? Oh, kawaii koto.
Is Fancy Pants on our server? What's your name? Get on the Discord, Fancy Pants. I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah, this guy gets it.
Hang on, I have a bunch of pings on Discord. Our friend is pinging you, but we'll check that out after the video. Sorry. Boris WW said, "I thought I'd be able to leave the rest of my life without hearing about Jeff the Killer again." To which Tanhony responded, "Well, you thought wrong." That's the one time Tanhony has responded to a comment ever. But,
to defend Jeff's honor.
Jeff's honor. So, where are we in the lore of the Discovering SCP series?
We are digging beneath the ruins of the East Coast looking for that man.
That man. Right. And this is episode 37.
The one who belongs to that certain organization.
So this episode, we're going to try something super freaky fresh. So I want to give out a shout out in advance. For the first time ever, we're going to attempt, if nothing goes wrong, to have this episode edited by people that aren't us. Because we're trying to fix our quality and stuff. So
I didn't know what you were talking about then for a minute. I was like, wait,
so assuming everything
what?
works out and these people are able to edit it, if they're not, then Tan or I will just edit it as usual. Shout out to AnAnomalousWriter and Lon Langlin for helping us out with this. Unless it doesn't work out, then undo the shout out. But yes. All right. Any parting words before we set off here?
Always remember, Jeff the Killer is real. And he knows that you're real. And one of those
I thought he already died, though.
And one of those facts will soon become untrue.
So, Jeff Kuhn exists.
Yes, he exists.
That man.
That's
I hope there's a Jeff the Killer joke SCP. That would be Pog.
Oh, yeah.
Can I write that? Would I get copyright for that? How does that work?
I would say it wouldn't do very well.
It's a joke SCP, though, so it's funny.
No, but it wouldn't be funny because there's no effort in it, is there?
Is it like when people are saying I was just being stupid as a joke, and it's like, but you were still being stupid?
You're fake. You'll be fake.
I'm not fake.
Fake.
I'm real. You're fake.
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 You're fake.
Fake.
I have Carcyst Ion on speed dial. I'll get you infected.
Fake, fake.
Don't even
fake,
test me.
Fake.
I can get it. All right, that's it.
Ion. Fake.
Release the pathogen and end this video along with this world.
Sure thing.
Goodbye.
Sure thing, Darnell.